Good day, learners. Welcome to our general mathematics lesson on applying percentage increase and decrease, particularly in determining the impact of inflation on costs and wages over time. Prices do not remain the same forever. The cost of food, transportation, electricity, and other basic needs may change over time. Salaries and wages may also increase. In this lesson, we will use mathematics to understand and measure these changes. Let us begin. Let us begin with a simple observation. Rice prices, transportation fares, and salaries change over time. Think about the prices of goods today. Are they the same as they were several years ago? You may have heard your parents or grandparents say that their money could buy more things in the past. At the same time, wages and salaries may also change. This brings us to our essential question: why do prices and wages change over time? Keep this question in mind as we proceed with our lesson. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to compute percentage increase and decrease. You should also be able to define inflation, explain its major causes, and calculate the inflation rate. Finally, you should be able to determine the effects of inflation on prices, the cost of living, purchasing power, and wages. These objectives will guide our discussion for today. Before we discuss inflation, we first need to understand percentage increase and percentage decrease. Percentage increase tells us how much a value has increased compared with its original value. To calculate it, we divide the increase by the original value and multiply the result by 100%. Percentage decrease follows the same basic process. We divide the decrease by the original value and multiply by 100%. Remember that the denominator is the original value, not the new value. Let us apply these formulas to some examples. Let us look at an example of percentage increase. Suppose the price of rice increased from 2,000 pesos to 2,400 pesos. First, find the increase. 2,400 pesos minus 2,000 pesos is 400 pesos. Next, divide the increase of 400 pesos by the original price of 2,000 pesos. The result is 0.2. Multiply this by 100%, and we get 20%. Therefore, the price of rice increased by 20%. Notice that we compared the increase with the original price. Now let us look at percentage decrease. Suppose the price of cooking oil decreased from 280 pesos to 238 pesos. First, find the amount of decrease. 280 pesos minus 238 pesos equals 42 pesos. Next, divide 42 by the original price of 280 pesos. The result is 0.15. Multiply this by 100%. Therefore, the price of cooking oil decreased by 15%. Again, we use the original value as the basis of our computation. Now that we know how to measure percentage changes, let us discuss inflation. Inflation is the general increase in prices over time. The word general is important. Inflation does not simply mean that the price of one product increased. It refers to an overall increase in the prices of goods and services. As prices increase, the purchasing power of money decreases. Purchasing power refers to the amount of goods and services that our money can buy. For example, if 1,000 pesos can buy 10 items today but only 8 similar items in the future, the purchasing power of 1,000 pesos has decreased. This is one of the major effects of inflation. Inflation affects individuals, families, workers, and businesses in several ways. First, inflation results in higher prices. Second, it increases the cost of living. Families may need more money to pay for food, transportation, utilities, and other necessities. Third, inflation reduces purchasing power. The same amount of money may buy fewer goods and services. Finally, inflation may lead to wage adjustments. Workers may seek higher wages because their current income may no longer be enough to maintain the same standard of living. This shows why changes in prices and wages are often connected. There are three major causes of inflation discussed in this lesson. The first is demand pull inflation. Demand pull inflation happens when demand exceeds supply. In simple terms, many people want to buy a product, but the available supply is limited. This can cause prices to increase. The second is cost-push inflation. Cost-push inflation happens when the cost of production increases. For example, if fuel, electricity, raw materials, or transportation become more expensive, businesses may increase their prices to cover the additional costs. The third is built-in inflation. Built-in inflation may occur when higher wages lead to higher production costs. Businesses may increase prices, and because prices are higher, workers may again demand higher wages. This may create what we call a wage price spiral. Therefore, inflation may be caused by changes in demand, production costs, or the interaction between wages and prices. Inflation can be measured using changes in the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. Suppose the CPI increased from 120 to 132. First, find the increase. 132 minus 120 equals 12. Next, divide 12 by the original CPI of 120. 12 divided by 120 equals 0.10. Multiply by 100%. The inflation rate is 10%. This means that the general price level increased by 10% compared with the previous period. The computation is similar to finding percentage increase because inflation measures an increase in the general price level. Let us summarize the key concepts that we learned today. We learned how to calculate percentage increase and percentage decrease by comparing the amount of change with the original value. We also learned that inflation is the general increase in prices over time and that increasing prices reduce the purchasing power of money. We discussed three causes of inflation: demand pull inflation, cost push inflation, and built-in inflation. Finally, we learned how to calculate the inflation rate using changes in the Consumer Price Index. Through these concepts, mathematics helps us understand why the prices of goods, the cost of living, and even wages may change over time. Before we end, return to our essential question: why do prices and wages change over time? Prices may change because of increasing demand, higher production costs, and other factors that contribute to inflation. Wages may also change as workers and employers respond to changes in the cost of living and purchasing power. Understanding percentage changes and inflation allows us to better understand these real-life economic situations. Thank you for your active participation. Continue observing how prices and wages change around you and think about how mathematics can help explain these changes. See you in our next lesson.